Layer styles can make the smallest thing look real. No matter how simple it is important for that to have life to make the overall scene look real. So I'm going to zoom in right here on these little structure back here, and you see there's a ladder there. Now that ladder needs to fit into the rest of the scene. It has to have shading and such to make it look real. Now we're looking at a low-res version, so it doesn't look as detailed as the actual piece, but we're going to make that ladder. Simple thing like that, and it doesn't require a tremendous amount of work, just the knowledge of how Photoshop works to make it look real. So I got here a file I just created, and I'm going to create some basic paths that are going to make up my ladder. Now they're not going to be difficult. I'm just going to create one long path like this, and I'm going to duplicate it straight across. There's the basic shape of the upright parts of my ladder. Then I'm going to go in here and create all the rungs that go across. So I'm just going to create this one right there and duplicate it down there, and I'm going down again, and I'm basically holding down my Option, Shift, and Command key to constrain these guys straight down. That would be the Shift, Alt, and Control on a PC. With the beauty of editing there, you see the entire rung. You don't have to watch me make each one. You see the entire ladder is now set up. These are just the paths. Without them, we really haven't done anything to our art. Here's the paths. So I'm going to just save those paths so we have them. Now, this is going to be created in various layers. I'm going to select this first one here, right there. This is the one that's closest towards us, right there. And I'm going to go in there and create a layer right there. And this layer is going to be upright. And in fact, we'll make the one that's furthest to us. So we'll say upright, right. And that's this one here. So I'm going to get a color that's going to represent that shape. So I'm going to go in here and let's pick a nice gray. Say we pick that gray right there. And I'm going to get a brush, hard edge brush. Bring the hardness up, bring the size down to the size that's going to be good for that shape of the ladder. Go in there and type in the 15 there. And that's a good size. So now that I have that in that layer, I'm going to go ahead and stroke that path. So there it is. So now this one here, I'm going to stroke in another layer. So I'm going to call this layer upright left. And stroke that path in that layer. Then I'm going to select all the ones in between. So I'm going to select all of these. And in a layer in between all these, right there in between them, we'll call it the rungs. And I'm going to get a much thinner brush. Let's go in here and make it a little thinner. Let's say about a 9 looks good. So in that, I'm going to stroke the paths right there. So there's our basic shape for our ladder, but it's very flat right now. So now let's make it look dimensional. So I'm going to go into my layer styles. And for the upright on the right, I'm going to go in there and say, give it just an inner shadow, which I'm going to have it turn off the global light and have the light come from this side here. And I'm going to choke it. So it's hard, and I'm going to bring the size down to about 2. And I'm going to reduce the distance to 2, just so I get this little edge along the front there. See, just like that. All right, now, what if this was supposed to be the light side? It's facing the light. Well, what we'll do is we'll just change the color to a very light gray like this, and change the mode to a screen, and now we got a light edge right along there. So we'll say that's good. Click OK. And so that we can really see that light stand out, I'm going to go to the background and invert it. So now we see that we got this little light edge going on right there. So that's a good layer style. So I'm just going to Option, click, and drag that into the other upright layer like that. So now they both have that little edge going up. So now comes the rungs. We want the rungs to look dimensional too. So I'm going to double click on them to bring up their layer styles. And here I'm going to give them a bevel and emboss. Right off the bat, you can see that they started to look dimensional. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to just kind of reduce the size of this to something like about 3. Now, this is not a formula because this depends on the resolution of the file you're working on. So 3 might be too much. This is 72 dpi, so 3 is quite a bit. I'm going to increase the depth so I get really strong lights and darks, and I'm going to increase the opacity for my whites right there, and you can see that I have this nice tonality going on there. Click OK. Now, that's fairly good, but not perfect. So here's what we're going to do next. I'm going to turn on the rungs as a selection. I'm going to Option click on it just like that. And then a layer right on top of the upright right, I'm going to create a new layer right there. And I'm going to fill that area with black. So I'm going to go in there and say Fill, Foreground Color, do it. Now I can deselect. What do I have? I have a bunch of black areas there, which let's turn this off so we can see it. I'm going to just move it down for a second. And let's turn this off. I'm in that layer. There it is. See, it's just that. Let me undo that so they're right back where they used to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in a little closer so we can see what I'm about to do here. I'm going to take that rung, and we see that we have a light coming from up here somewhere, right? Which means that the rungs should cast a little shadow on the inside part of this upright. So I'm going to take that layer, which I'm going to call shadow, and I'm going to skew it. I'm going to give it a little skew right here like this. So I'm going to skew that so it goes just like that. And I'm going to bring down the opacity just a little. It's just a little hint. And then I'm going to clip it with the upright layer, just like that. And there you can see that now we have this little shadow on our ladder there, and we can even bring down the opacity a little bit more. So it's just this little hint of a shadow, and there we can see that our ladder just became this three-dimensional ladder that was done with just a bunch of little paths that were stroked, and layer styles took care of the rest to make it look real.